All right, welcome back. We just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone that watched our through hike Adventures Ahead on YouTube. We really appreciate it. We had initially just made that for, the grandparents and some friends. And so for people around the country and honestly around the world to be watching it and enjoying the Appalachian Trail and enjoying our adventure with us is pretty amazing. So thank you so much to everybody who did watch, who encouraged us along the way, and especially those of you that were watching from the beginning and had to wait so long for all the videos. So we're sorry about that, but thank you for your support, for your encouragement. So here we are. We're actually at a hotel right now. If you hear some background noise, I'm sorry, but we wanted to just wrap up the Appalachian Trail adventure with answering some questions that a lot of you had asked along the way or over the channel. So let's start by, you guys want to just say, a lot of people were asking your ages. You want to give your trail name and your age at the time of the hike.
So, my name's Unbreakable, and I was 15 and had a trail birthday and turned 16 in June.
All right.
My name is Drive, and I was 13 at the time, and I did not have a trail birthday.
My name is Chappie, and I am 15.
My name is Hikerbox, and I was 11.
All right. And so we started the trail. Who wants to talk about when we started and ended and how long it took?
I'll go. So we started March 19th of 2021, and we ended up summiting on August 3rd, 2021. So it took us exactly 4 months and 15 days to complete the Appalachian Trail.
Was that the goal?
Yeah, that was exactly the goal.
Nice job, boys. We were well aware of the statistics that most people don't even finish, and these boys set a pretty aggressive goal, and in the end we pushed and met it. All right, so let's start by just talking a little bit about our kind of hiking history. Had we ever done a through hike? What had we done before?
No, we hadn't ever done a through hike, but we were hiking in New Hampshire for the AT, and we had been knocking out some 4,000 footers.
So we've had experience hiking, but not like more than a couple nights.
Never backpacked more than a few nights, right?
Right.
And why did we think that maybe we could do the AT? Like, why did we?
Well, we have a lot of confidence in ourselves, and it was another adventure that we thought we could take on, and so it just seemed like a fun idea.
Okay, had you ever seen through hikers, talked to through hikers?
Yeah, so during some of our hikes in New Hampshire, we had come across through hikers, and we talked to them. We thought it was super cool, and so we'd ask them questions about like just everything because we didn't know much about it, and so that kind of got us thinking about it, and we thought it was cool.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because a couple summers before we actually did the through hike, we had joked about it. We were like, "You think we could ever through hike? You think we'll ever end up through hiking?" It's kind of cool how it came about.
Do you remember what a couple of the guys said when we were at the Zealand Falls hut the summer before we hiked it?
Yeah.
When I said, do you think we could do it?
Yeah, he was talking about how the hardest thing for him was not showering in the stink that you had to go through. And I mean, he said if you could get through that, you could pretty much.
And you can handle hiking in the whites.
Handle hiking in the whites, you could pretty much do the AT. So we had some confidence in that.
All right, awesome. All right, so tell us a little bit about resupplying on the AT. How do you carry food and how do you resupply?
Well, we generally carried like 5 days of food, like approximately. So it's pretty easy on the AT because you cross so many roads. So you just have to like look ahead, see how much food you have, look at like a town coming up, and either when we crossed the road, we would either hitch or call a shuttle. Sometimes we had to walk.
Okay. Did the trails sometimes go right into a town or right past a place to resupply?
Yeah, the trail, there were trail towns along the way.
Major trail town along the way was like Hot Springs or Damascus.
Yeah.
2 trail towns where the trail literally walks right down
Harper's
Main Street.
Ferry.
Harper's Ferry,
Okay.
a couple big ones
So,
like that.
yeah, those are really easy to resupply because there's just a store like right there.
Okay, but otherwise we had to go maybe a couple miles or so.
Yeah.
Okay. Do most people carry 5 days worth of food or so?
Well, I feel like most people carried 3 to 4 days, and sometimes people would try to carry 5, but like not consistently.
Okay. Was there a reason that we didn't resupply more often?
I just wanted to do some miles without having to take a break to go into a town.
Every
It
time you
kinda
resupply, it takes time, right?
takes time, and it kind of throws us off our rhythm. And also, we could handle the weight of our packs and handle the weight of a 5-day resupply. So there wasn't any.
So that worked for us. Good. Some people do the trail in sections. Some people go southbound. Some people go northbound. Some people do all kinds of flip-floppy things and whatever. What did we do and why?
So we started in Georgia and went all the way through north to Maine. And we wanted to do that all in one stretch. So the reason we went all the way through from south to north is because we wanted to do it without taking time off. We wanted to do it in one go. And we liked the idea of going towards home, from south towards home.
And also, Katahdin is kind of like a big mountain, and it's kind of like a big finish, an exciting finish. Whereas Georgia Springer could be an exciting finish, but it's not as much of like a climb up to the mountain.
Didn't seem as epic.
Didn't seem as epic.
Yeah, Katahdin was pretty awesome. All right. What town food did you most look forward to?
Pizza, burgers, French fries. I mean, those were just
Yeah.
awesome.
Stuff that you couldn't get on trail, or was like a heavy meal. That it was just kind of like,
Pasta.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would like a salad.
good pasta, not wrong.
Yeah, fruit.
Yeah, fresh fruit, maybe a salad. But then we were looking forward to like hearty meals, kind of that home cooked hearty meal kind of stuff we missed, right? What things did you get tired of on the trail? Like what foods that were we carrying we got tired of?
Peanut
Bless.
butter.
And I mean, those like granola bars. I got tired of those.
After a
Protein
few
bars?
weeks of
Yeah.
eating protein bars, it was kind of like, all right, we're done with this.
And ramen, kind of for me at the end of the trail.
I never got tired of it.
I know, me neither. I love ramen on trail because it's so light.
Because we don't eat it at home.
don't
You
eat
didn't
it
get
at
too
home.
tired of
It's
it.
so light, a lot of calories. So
I got kind of tired of like beef jerky.
Yeah,
Those just gross.
Yeah. All right, tell me a little bit about Trail Angels and Trail Magic.
So in Georgia, there's a ton of trail magic. Like every gap you get to, everywhere you stop, there's somebody. So that's pretty encouraging at the beginning. But as you kind of got more north, it kind of spread out. But there were still awesome people along the way. Like there were people that took us in. There were people that had amazing setups for food, and
Like
there were-
alongside the trail or
yeah,
in a
on the side
parking
of the
lot.
trail. There were people that would shuttle us places, just help us out.
yeah, there were even through hikers that were in town or on break or had a family member with them, and so they would see a through hiker and then they would give them a little bit of food or some trail magic, just because they know how much it means to somebody.
Yeah. That was one of the things that really surprised me and was such a blessing, I think, was the trail community. Not just the other through hikers, but the people along the way that were out doing trail magic or willing to give a hiker or stinky, smelly hiker a ride to town or whatever. That was incredible. So to anyone that we met along the way that helped us out, that gave us trail magic, that blessed us, thank you. All right, talk a little bit about hike solo, and then they meet people along the way and they form a tramily. But those tramilies usually kind of ebb and flow. You're not always with someone. In this case, we are a family. So we kind of had to stay together the whole time, right?
Right.
Talk a little bit about how we managed that. Were we always one foot in front of the other? How do we do that?
Sometimes like we would get a little spread out, and some people would be like me and Brody would be hiking up in front, and Mom and vice versa, stuff like that. But I mean, we pretty much stayed pretty close to each other the whole time. And I mean, there were some other people that we ran into that we kind of like hiked around and hung out around. So.
Yeah, we did form some friends and hike with some other people for periods of time. Yeah, for the most part, we were pretty much together, but we did spread out. We did give each other some space on trail, but obviously nobody got too far ahead at any point. We would pick a spot, like if we knew there was a shelter up ahead that was, say, 2 or 3 miles away, then we'd be like, okay, let's gather there again. So we would give each other a little bit of space, but there were also a few times where we got turned around, where a person or two who will remain unnamed may have not waited at a junction or taken a wrong turn, and thank God that all got sorted out. We found each other again and kept on the trail. So we will be a little bit more careful on future hikes with that, but no, it was good. It was good. We have a lot of time together. But I think we gave each other a little bit of space during the day while we were hiking. And then does anyone want to talk about, people are always asking, what did we do for sleeping? Did we sleep in shelters? Did we have a tent? How many tents did we have?
So we had one 4-man tent, 3-man tent, 3-man tent. We went the opposite way that normal people would go. So normal people would go like this. We went like that. We slept, all 5 of us lined up like that. And we slept in the tent most nights on the AT.
Yeah.
Unless we were in like a hotel, hostel, or the few times we were in the shelter, which was like 10 or 15 times.
Basically, we felt like we pretty much slept in the tent almost, definitely the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And the tent was cozy.
Yeah.
It was cozy, but
Yeah,
it worked.
But when we got to a shelter, we would always take it with joy.
Yeah.
If it was open.
Yeah.
If there was actually room at a shelter, we would take advantage of not having to set up the tent and break down the tent. Somebody was very interested actually in our tent and our tarp and our crazy. You probably saw how crazy it looked in the pictures. First of all, it looked enormous compared to a solo hiker with a little lightweight tent. We do definitely cause a scene, I think, when we set up camp. But anyway, what was the deal? What happened with our tent and that whole tarp that we ended up with? What was that all about?
So, we ended up having to send home our rain fly because that would get wet and heavy after it would rain. It wouldn't dry out fast at all. So, and plus we didn't have a whole lot of sunny days. It was pretty much rainy most of the time. So, when it would rain and we'd have a wet tent fly, we wouldn't be able to dry it out. So it'd be wet and heavy, and then we'd have a wet tent and it would be like dripping, and it just wasn't good. So we sent home our rain fly and eventually got a lightweight.
Can I just interject for
Yeah.
1 second? So just to clarify, the tent fly kept us dry in the tent.
Right.
The tent system was actually awesome. It was not ultralight, and when it got wet, we would still be dry, but the tent was like unbearable to carry.
Yeah.
And we never had an opportunity to dry it because there were hardly any sunny days. Sorry, go on.
So we got a lightweight tarp, and we would set that over our tent. So we'd still have the tent with the frame, but we'd just have the tarp, and we'd pretty much rig it up however we could over the tent. That way it would keep us dry. And sometimes if it was a nice day out, we'd have it a little bit higher so some air could get in. And so that worked out good for us.
Yeah, and when it did get wet, when the tarp did get wet, it was at least lightweight and easier to carry and to try to dry out. Yeah, awesome. All right, someone talk a little bit about like our cook system and how did we... Yeah, go ahead.
So, in the beginning, we were carrying a pot. I don't know what we were thinking. It was like that big, and we cooked it on a, what did we cook it on? What was
I
it
had
called?
I had a little stove, which is very similar to like a pocket rocket.
Right.
So the stove wasn't bad, but what happened? Like,
It would take like 15 minutes to get water boiling, and we would burn through fuel like crazy.
Yeah.
We would like, out of a fuel canister that was like that big, that round, we would get like 4 times boiling water. We would boil water 4 times, and then we would have to get a new.
so super time consuming, inefficient, burning fuel, wasting time. So what happened?
And so a couple of ultralight hikers we were hiking near and around, they saw our cook system and thought it was.
This is back in the Smokies, so
They thought it was
a couple hundred
ridiculous
miles in.
and heavy and not efficient, which it was. And so they got into a hostel. 2 of them got into a hostel together, and then they went through a hiker box, and then they found this jet boil, the sumo jet boil, which was like family size, and they saw it and they were like, this would be perfect for the field trip. And so they asked the hostel to hold it until we arrived, and then when we got there, we picked it up, we thanked them, and then we had a new cook system. So the jet boil could hold how many liters of water? 2.5, right?
Now, I think it held a liter,
A liter?
but it boiled it a lot faster and more efficiently.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a big upgrade from our.
It is a large piece of equipment, but that's how we had to do it as a family. That made the most sense. The only other thing would be if we literally carried, 3 or 5 pocket rockets, and that just didn't seem feasible or practical, and 3 or 5 fuel cans. So we went family style, and it seemed to, although it was big and bulky, it worked for us. All right, did we have any other, so besides the tent and replacing the fly and changing up our cook system, did we have any other major gear changes or gear issues?
So I actually needed to change my backpack because it was just ripping my back up and it was breaking. And so I originally had an Osprey pack. So thanks to some generous family members, we all got new packs.
Awesome. Yeah, Asher, so Hiker Box had also had a pretty big backpack issue. We started with what we had, basically. We had a bunch of Osprey packs, which are awesome. Nothing against them at all. They worked awesome for us for all of our hikes in the whites, for day hikes, for an overnight. But as we packed them up and set out on this through hike, we realized we were carrying like 3 to 4 pound just in the pack alone, and then they weren't really fitting great for that kind of extended hiking. So so we ended up replacing some backpacks along the way. Eventually, all 4 of you ended with the ULA circuit, which fit you much better. Asher didn't even get that till New Hampshire, though. So we hiked a good amount of the way with some, not ideal packs and pretty heavy weight. But you guys did awesome and kept trucking along. So yeah, the backpacks were awesome. New piece of equipment. We also, how about our sleeping bags? What do we do about that?
Yeah. So we started with 20-degree bags that weighed like 3.5 pounds, not ultralight, which in the beginning we needed the 20-degree bags for those colder nights. But once we got a little ways into the trail, like out of the Smokies a little bit, we got some new lightweight sleeping bags. They weighed like 1 pound instead of 3.5 pounds, and they were 50-degree bags. And that combined with the liner that we had brought it down to like 40-degree bags, so that was perfect.
Yeah, so it was more like Damascus. It was more like Virginia. So we were a little ways into the trail. It wasn't quite as cold anymore. And keep in mind, there are 5 of us in a tent, so if anyone was cold, we could generate some heat and warmth. So it made a lot more sense to us to switch out our big heavy bags to some nice lighter weight ones. Anyone that watched our videos or hiked the trail themselves last year knew that it was a rainy summer. like one of the rainiest summers on record in a lot of the states that we were going through in the Northeast. So how did that impact our hike?
Some towns more often because we were soaked. All our stuff was soaked. It made hiking in the rain for a day hike isn't bad, but after doing it day after day after day, week after week, it's really annoying and frustrating, and it's uncomfortable, and it's not really enjoyable. So it definitely made the through hike a lot harder.
Yeah. And those days that we did have sun, man, those were awesome.
Yeah.
We really appreciated the days where we didn't have rain a lot more because we understood.
Yeah, but if it wasn't raining, then often it had rained during the night, and so we were breaking down a wet tent or wet equipment. We were worried about keeping everything dry. How did it impact like our feet and our shoes?
Oh, our socks were always wet, and you had to put them on day after day, and it just was bad. It was
Yeah, blisters.
blisters.
I always had blisters the whole entire way, even though I had like the toe socks.
Yeah, we had a good system. A lot of people using gingy toe socks, and we used Darn Tough socks. So our feet would stay warm, but normally, like, your feet kind of get used to the trail, build up calluses, and then you get over the blister phase. But that wasn't the case because it would rain and our feet would get wet again, and so then more blisters would develop, right? Was there anything in particular that you were excited about or looking forward to if we got Trail Magic?
Chips were good. Chips. I mean, we don't have soda that much, so I mean, whenever there was soda, I mean, that would be
It
awesome.
was enjoyable.
Anytime there was like fruit, sometimes there was actually salad. You know, just those things like we had talked about that we weren't able to get, weren't carrying along in our packs. But honestly, the junk, we appreciated that just as much. We looked forward to the cookies or to the Sour Patch Kids or chips or whatever. When people would actually make like hot dogs or something like that, that was amazing. Burgers, hot dogs. Yeah, I mean, that is so incredibly nice and generous of people to do that. Sometimes, honestly, all that we wanted was fresh water.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just were out of water and we were just happy to get a water in a clementine, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we appreciated all the trail magic that we came across, whether it was big or small, it was always appreciated. So, all right, tell us a little bit about some of the hard times on trail, challenges or harder parts of the trail.
Well, for me, it all depends on the person. But for me, I think New Hampshire was the most physically hardest state for me.
I feel like Vermont or Maine for me, because I mean, that was just the rain and the mud and the slippery rocks.
Yeah. I feel like Vermont was the toughest for me because I just hated having my feet always wet and everything soaked all the time.
Mud all over my shoes.
Right. And then I didn't like southern Maine because beautiful views and everything, but we couldn't do big miles because all the rocks were wet and you just couldn't go fast.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania was tough also, like the rocks. I mean, it was fine the first quarter of it, but then it started to get, like, our feet started to hurt. It was just annoying.
It wore on us, right?
Yeah. We were all annoyed.
Yeah. I really didn't mind. I was prepared for Rocksylvania. Everyone had warned us, right? And I really was like, it's not that bad until probably 2 days. We had about 2 days left, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this state.
Yeah.
Done with these rocks, right? And that was kind of the same scenario with Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine or with any of them. Like, the thing that made them tough or hard for us was just the constant wet and rain and slippery, and we always wanted to go faster and we couldn't. Like, we always wanted to do more miles and we had to just slow down and be careful. That was challenging. I think that was probably one of the most mentally challenging things for us because we wanted to go. All right, so obviously it's a very long and strenuous hike, so talk a little bit about any physical issues that we dealt with.
So obviously, like, everyone had like foot pain, blisters, stuff like that. But at the beginning,
Hiker hobble.
hiker hobble. But at the beginning of the trail, my knee did kind of bother me, and like my shoulders from my backpack. But that's all been sorted out, and that's all fine now.
Yeah. And then for me, for the whole trail, overall, I felt pretty good physically. The only time that my knees would hurt is if I did not use my poles.
So the trekking poles helped.
Trekking poles are definitely needed.
Yeah. We didn't use trekking poles a whole lot prior to this hike, actually. We never used trekking poles on like day trips and stuff, but we got them for this hike, and it turned out to be a really great piece of equipment.
Yeah.
All right. Elliot?
So, I was having some issues with my shins. They started hurting in like Pennsylvania. I don't know what it was. I mean, it's fine now, but I was having some pain in my shins. And obviously, I had some raw feet. My arches were raw, and it was hard to walk. It hurt.
Yeah. New York, too, you had raw feet.
New York.
Right.
Couple different places, yeah.
So, anyone who's watching our videos probably noticed that I had a brace on my knees. I was having some pain in my knee area, and so I decided that I didn't want to get off trail and I could handle it. So I told my mom that I wanted to keep hiking, and so I ended up getting that brace, and I went to the doctor, got a brace, and I decided to keep hiking. But eventually, using that knee less made the other one, I was compensating, so the other one started to hurt. And so I had to, eventually this knee got healed, and I had to swap it over. Turns out that the problem with my leg was a bigger deal than we thought, and eventually that same problem happened with the other leg. But by the end of the trail, I was completely fine. We went to the doctor, and I'm clear to do any activities that I want, any hiking, running, anything. So that's awesome.
No pain?
No pain.
Both legs are great?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Praise God for that. All right, so, and I'll just chime in. At one point, I had an Achilles issue. At one point, I had a swollen ankle, a shin issue. Honestly, I think that might have had something to do with the pair of shoes that I had gotten in town. I switched out a pair of shoes, got a pair of Ultras, which are 0 drop, and those didn't work for me. A lot of people love them, but they did not work well for me or for a couple of you guys either. So anyway, yeah, shoes matter. Don't just get the same gear or equipment that everyone else says is awesome. It's got to work for you, and we learned that. Yeah, my knees ached sometimes, but my poles definitely helped. So yeah, God kept us pretty strong and well overall. So regarding Ben's injury that a lot of people were concerned about, there is definitely more to that story, more that we would like to explain and share. But this just, we don't have the time right now. This isn't the right format. So we're going to figure that one out and share more about that. But we wanted to let everybody know that he is well and healed and cleared to do any more sports or activities. So thank you all for your concerns for him and for your prayers. And yeah, we're all well. Tell me, what was the best part of the trail?
Well, there were a lot of different parts that I really enjoyed. So I enjoyed the views in New Hampshire and southern Maine. I enjoyed the terrain, like the alpine of New Hampshire and southern Maine.
I liked New Jersey.
New Jersey was good.
New Jersey was good. It was kind of like rolling hills, and it was nice, good views.
Yeah.
I liked certain sections of Virginia.
Yeah.
There were some really cool areas.
West Virginia was pretty good. It was a good 4 miles.
All downhill, all railroad tracks.
The easiest state?
Easiest state on the Appalachian Trail. Yeah.
All right. I really liked some of the Rhone Highlands and the Balds and through through that first,
Patch.
yeah. So that was like the Tennessee, North Carolina area, right? When we were skirting that state line. There was some nice rolling hills and nice views along there too. If you could think about like something you learned, something you'll take away from the trail, what would that be?
And never give up, even if it's tough.
Yeah.
Be thankful for a shower.
The simple things that we take for granted every day, we appreciated, didn't we?
And then anything is possible.
I learned a lot about like teamwork and perseverance and like pushing through hard days.
Yeah. What were some examples of teamwork? Like, what were some examples besides obviously staying together on the trail, not getting too far apart and stuff like that? Like, what did we have to do every day?
Set up the tent, break down the tent, get water, cook food.
Yeah.
If like someone was hurting, take some of their weight.
Right.
Yeah, we helped each other out on different occasions when we weren't feeling well. Besides injuries, there were days where someone just wasn't feeling well. A day where someone had a fever or, you know, whatever, sinus infection or who knows what, a stomach issue. So yeah, we helped each other out when it was needed. Worked together as much as we could. There were also some challenging times. People, teams, families, brothers don't always work perfectly together. So, yeah, you know, we're not perfect either. We had some challenges and some things to work through and opportunities for continued growth.
Yeah.
All right. Overall, are you glad you went on the Appalachian Trail?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Would you recommend a through hike?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. If you're thinking about it, do it.
If it's something you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely a challenge. All right, so if someone's interested, you do recommend a through hike of the Appalachian Trail?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, and would you do it again?
I'd do something like it again, yeah.
Or when I'm older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were to do it again, I would go through and I might do it. I would either try to do it slower and like enjoy more towns and things, or I would try to do it faster and see how fast I could do it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like maybe when I'm older I could do it like ultra light.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually talked about that a lot on the trail. Hiker Box was always talking about, when I do it next time, I'm going to be ultralight and I'm going to try to do it in this amount of time or this many days, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that was encouraging actually to me as we went along, that they were talking about if they did it again. So obviously they were enjoying parts. How did we get the name Field Trip?
We actually got it on like day 2.
No, it was day one.
It was day 1.
Was it day 1 or 2? 1 or 2?
It was day 1 that somebody mentioned it, but it was a couple weeks in before we accepted it,
Right.
Yeah.
before we started using it, right?
Yeah.
So we were hiking along on day 1. We met some guys at a shelter. Actually, one of them was from Andover, Massachusetts, which is not far from where we live. He was hiking with a bunch of buddies, a couple of college-age kids or, post-high school. And we chatted with them, said hello. They hiked past us on the trail. We hiked past them on the trail. They passed us again. And then they were like, hey, we're going to call you the Field Trip. And so we were like, hey, that's cool. But we didn't think of it as like our group trail name until a little bit later when people were like, hey, what's your name? What's your family's name? Or what's your tramily called? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, there was that guy that said we were the Field Trip. And so...
And then we met him. Actually, we
Yeah.
met him in Uncle Johnny's.
yeah.
He was like, are you guys the Field Trip? I named you guys the Field Trip. And we were like, what?
Yeah, I wish we got a picture with him. I don't remember his name. Lots more that we could talk about the Appalachian Trail. I definitely want to wrap it up more, reflect more. We've done some journaling since we got home, right? And talked about a lot of more specific things. I want to share that with everybody, but we're actually in a time crunch right now. So we're hanging out at a hotel in San Diego. And it's April 2022. So what's going
What are
on?
we doing in San Diego?
What is going on?
We are going to be through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail.
Woo! Did everyone just take that in?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's big.
It's getting real, isn't it?
Yes.
How you feeling, Ash?
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
All right.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite the adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. I think it's really exciting how different the wilderness is going to be out here on the West Coast compared to what we're used to. I think we're going to be blown away by some of the views. Certainly at the beginning, we are definitely not used to the desert. So that is going to be a challenge for us. And but we're super excited to get started and to hopefully, if we can, share some of this journey with you as well. If you're interested in coming along, watching, seeing the trail, we're going to try to share that with you. So if anyone followed us along the Appalachian Trail and you're interested in seeing the Pacific Crest Trail, what do people need to do? How are they going to be able to?
You could follow us on Instagram at thefieldtrip_5. And then we're actually changing our YouTube name from Adventures Ahead to The Field Trip.
So on YouTube, it will now be The Field Trip, not Adventures Ahead.
Okay, but if anybody is subscribed, they'll still be subscribed.
We'll still be subscribed.
All right,
but
cool.
if you're telling anyone where to find us, or if you want to search us up, you look up The Field Trip.
All right. We're going to do our best to take video and to post videos. If that doesn't go well, then we'll do it when we're home from the trail. And even if that doesn't go well, we think the Instagram thing should be manageable, right? So we could at least post some pictures or some updates every once in a while so people know that we're good and well and can see the amazing sights that we're going to be seeing.
Yeah.
So we're excited to share that with you. And Field Trip's going to be back on the trail in just another day.